While your multi-passionate spirit is definitely a gift, it can also be a burden because all these options can lead to paralysis and you can actually end up not pursuing any of your passions fully. What if I told you there are practical tools that you can use to gain more clarity and more focus? I'm a neuropsychologist that works with neurospicy folks on a regular basis, so I definitely have a unique view into the problems that come with juggling multiple interests. Some people feel judged by family and friends for not sticking with that one path, and that can lead to self-doubt and frustration. Other folks, especially ambitious ones, get anxiety about pursuing the wrong path, or they might get a fear that they'll regret, not pursuing other interests that they let go. And then there's those that struggle with attention and focus, which just makes it hard to pursue any one passion without getting distracted. So whether you are a multi-passionate entrepreneur looking to streamline your efforts or a new graduate looking to gain clarity of what you want to do with your future, my hope is this video can give you tangible and practical ideas and advice that you can start using today to gain more clarity. So the first thing I want you to do is replace your crystal ball. I know what I'm about to say is shocking and a lot of people aren't saying this, but you don't need to know your life's purpose or your life's calling. Forget the fact that that concept is even debatable. Whether it's real or not, it's not always helpful, especially if you are juggling multiple interests and you're trying to streamline your efforts and figure out what to focus on. It's usually not. Let me explain. So when I was working with women trying to manifest their dreams, sometimes they spent so much time trying to figure out what was their life calling and what was their life purpose that they forgot they could create it. They forgot they could simply decide on it. And once we talked about that and they realized that, that caused them actually usually a lot of fear, because they realized underneath that fear of maybe going down the wrong path was really a fear of not trusting themselves. And one of the things I've learned working with clients and managing my own OCD, which can overemphasize finding meaning in things, is that God gave us free will for a reason. And instead of being tied to this predetermined fate of yours, you have the free will to decide it. So even though I am a person that believes I know my life's purpose, I trust myself to decide on how I want to embody that in each season of my life. And more importantly, if you can't learn to trust yourself, you won't have that tenacity you need to truly fulfill your life's ambitions and your life's dreams. So I want you to, 1, trust yourself and God to choose the right path needed for this current moment in your life. And 2, give yourself grace to make mistakes. You don't have to take this path, this journey perfectly. In fact, mistakes are going to be part of that journey, right? And trusting yourself and your higher power to go along that journey. You can use radical acceptance, which just means even the challenges in life, even those hard moments in life, you can ask, what is this moment sent here to teach me? And what do I want? What meaning do I want to make out of this situation? Because maybe it didn't, happen for a reason. Maybe it isn't God's doing that put you there. Maybe it's some other reason, right? But you can decide, okay, I'm going to make meaning. What meaning do I want to make out of this moment? And that can move you closer to who you need to be to accomplish those dreams. So trust yourself and God on this path as you make these decisions. And then also know that it's okay if you make a mistake. You don't have to make the right decision all the time. That's going to be part of your journey. Which leads me to part 3, which is to trust your future self to figure it out. So you're trusting yourself and God on this path. You are using obstacles as lessons, and no, you don't have to be perfect. You can keep becoming. And 3, you're trusting your future self to figure it out when you face those obstacles. Your future self is not incapable. So I want you to compartmentalize your life into seasons, if you will, and really think about, what is the intention I have for myself for this season in my life? Putting away your crystal ball to fulfill all your life's purpose and define everything as far as your mission in life. What's your mission for this season? I heard Maddie James explain this idea of defining your mission for your current life season. I don't think she maybe used the term life season, but that was the idea, right? And she used this analogy, I think, of Mission Impossible. And after listening to that, and I was also listening to some other speakers that week that I really liked, I really dived into my own mission personally for my life, which is to come from a place of ease and energy so I can be a blessing to my loved ones, as well as my mission in my business life, my content creation life, my neuropsychologist life, which is to come from a place of ease and energy so I can be a blessing for ambitious women. So I have those missions and I have them broken down more specifically on how I'm going to do that, but I want you to do that for your own life. And I want to give you some ideas of how you can start to think about what's most important to you right now to inform that mission, because that's going to be important. So you want to start off thinking about what are your basic needs in life right now. I could tell you, oh, just think about your passions, just think about what's going to make you happy. But we also live in what's called reality. And as a neuropsychologist, I've worked with all domains of people of socioeconomic status. And I know when you are suffering from certain levels of basic needs not being met, that's going to be your focus, and rightfully so, just to survive. So thinking about, okay, how much of my basic needs are being met, even when it comes to sleep and things like that, of what you need to take care of yourself, so you can start off with a really healthy foundation in pursuing your passion. And then we can start thinking about some of those other things that are most important to us on top of those basic needs that can inform our mission for this season. So you want to think about your roles, your life season, your life domains, and your values. So your roles in life: are you a mom? Are you a wife? Are you a sister? Are you a CEO? What are your roles in your life that are informing some of these things that you can and cannot pursue in your life? I'm not saying that certain roles you can't do certain things, but what are your obligations in life right now, and what roles are important to you to maintain and show up as your best self as? Your life season: are you in a season where you are building your career? Are you more in a season where you're actually thinking about slowing down? Are you in a season where you're caring for an older parent or caring for a tiny baby? What are the seasonal things in your life right now that contribute to what your mission for this part of your life? And then you also want to think about life domains. So think about your fun category, travel category. You want to be thinking about, charity. Is that important to you right now? In my planner, the Modern Ambition Goal Planner, at the beginning, the goal planning section, so it comes with the goal planner and a 90-day planner. This really helps you flush out what's most important to you using evidence-based psychology to really create goals that are more motivating for you, so it makes it easier for you to achieve them. So if you're looking for some help with this part of really sussing out your values, your life domains, what's most important to you, I have a lot of good prompts in the planner. And then as we elevate, we've thought about, our basic needs in life. We've thought about what's most important to us in our current life. I want you to also think about the vision. Where do you want to go? What is your dream life? What does that look like? And then thinking about all of that together, again, if you have the planner, it's going to be laid out specifically for you to do that. Also in the book, The 12-Week Year, there's a section that talks about defining the vision that could be very helpful for you. I have a summary of the 12-week year in my 12-week year template, but you can also just think about 10 years from now, 5 years from now, a year from now, where would I love to see my life? And then that can help you inform, like, how is this segment in your life going to move you closer to that? And that can help you kind of focus and gain some clarity of what is your mission for this season in your life. Okay, so you know now that you should have replaced your crystal ball and replaced it with a mission for your current life season. But this is only the beginning. Now you need to know how to tame your neurospicy brain to actually accomplish that mission. And this is where most multi-passionate folks fail. So what I've learned with working with so many passionate, ambitious women is one of the reasons they feel so overwhelmed is because they're walking around in this constant state of scatter. Because what ends up happening is, because they have so many passions and goals, they end up putting way too much on their plate. And in the end, they're not really effective at any of them because their efforts are really dispersed. And not just that, there's so many ways that lack of focus impacts our well-being. Actually, a study at the University of London found that continuous partial attention reduces cognitive capacity, and chronic multitasking can decrease our IQ up to 15 points. And when it comes to fulfilling our passions, not being able to give them our full focus really doesn't end up in success or fulfillment when you're pursuing them. So now that you have your mission, it's really important to know how to harness your efforts strategically. And I really want you to think about the least that you can do to fulfill your mission of this season. Because the less that you do, the more ease and energy you will have to do those things in a way that pleases you and that actually lives up to doing them in a way that you envision doing them, because you have the energy, you have the time, you have the focus to put into them. So for example, for myself, I like to periodically and pretty often ask myself, am I doing this in a way that I envisioned it? Am I showing up as the mom mom I envision to be? Am I showing up as the wife that I envision to be, the businesswoman that I envision to be, the neuropsychologist that I envision to be? And if I'm not, is it because I haven't given myself enough time or energy to these things because I've put too much on my plate? So this next step is really all about focusing on the intention for this season. And here's some ways you can do that. First thing, I want you to declutter all those tasks and things that you put on your plate. And what I mean by this is try either postpone or get rid of those things that you put on yourself, or maybe goals that are extraneous right now that aren't feeding into the success for the intention of this season, and those things that are most important to you right now. Steve Jobs actually said that people think focus means saying yes to the thing you've got to focus on, but that's not what it means at all. It means saying no to the hundreds of other good ideas that are there. So a good example of this for me is my word of the year last year was streamline. Actually, the year before that was streamline. So in 2022, my word of the year was streamline. And then once I narrowed my focus, my word of the year last year was push, and specifically was geared towards what I had streamlined to. And this is the year that my YouTube channel actually started to grow. And so one of the ways that I streamlined, which I took it throughout my whole life and it really changed my life, was to focus only on YouTube. And I let go of this pressure to try to grow Instagram and also grow TikTok and also do all the other things, because like I said, I'm a full-time neuropsychologist. I am a happy wife and I try to be a conscious mom. I don't have all day to be on everything. So I really had to decide, even though I have fun on some of those other platforms and you'll see me pop up here and there, my main thing that I felt comfortable with and that I wanted to streamline and grow my efforts into was YouTube, mainly because I'm a writer. So I like writing scripts and I get to be long form on YouTube, and I could show up once a week in a really good way, and that could actually get my information out to the people that I wanted to without having to fight the algorithm. So I really focused on, I changed my niche, which was really hard to do on YouTube. So I stopped growing for a while. And then once I started getting traction on the things I'm talking about now, although it's similar, it's just very different wording, then I started to grow my channel, and I dedicate most of that to just streamlining the little time that I did have to produce content on what was going to be most effective for me in this season of life that I'm in now. Though that may change down the line when I have more time, but I'm really happy with that decision that I made to really declutter all those other efforts and really focus and hone in, and the results were evident. Well, at least evident for me. I'm happy with the growth that I've had, and it was more growth than I had ever had in the past. So this would be a good time to say, if you're enjoying this video, please join the family. I am a neuropsychologist that makes videos on how to intentionally get things done so you can enjoy your dream life. So be sure to hit that subscribe. But if you're anything like me, you can have the best of intentions to streamline your life, but before you can even say squirrel, you look up and you're being led down this different path, or distractions have popped up in your life and you're adding more to your plate, because shiny object syndrome is real. Specifically, shiny object syndrome can look like a strong attraction to new ideas simply because they're new, not necessarily because they're valuable or relevant. It can also obviously look like a lack of focus and constantly feeling scattered. And shiny object syndrome can also look like many incomplete projects, lots of impulsivity, and just overcommitting yourself to too many things at once. And the dangers of succumbing to shiny object syndrome are huge. Listen to this. You can look like feeling like a failure because you've never seen things through. You could never develop any mastery of skills because you become a jack of all trades and a master of none. Constantly chasing new ideas can lead to burnout. It can even cause you to lead to losing money and time because you end up spending your resources on things that don't move the needle in your life or in your business. Greg McEwen, the author of Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less, said, "If you don't prioritize your life, someone else will." So here are some ways to stay focused on your intention for this season. You can make a promise to yourself to stick to a given pursuit for a given amount of time. So you say, maybe this year I want to focus on putting out one YouTube video a week. That's going to be my milestone. I'm not going to give up or start anything new till I do that for a year or for 6 months or whatever, you think you can actually commit to. And then you know that you've made this promise to yourself. So when you want to go off and chase squirrels, you have said, okay, that can wait. I'll do that at a different season. Right now, this is my mission. You can create built-in reminders. For example, my word of the year, streamline. So what can you do to have this reminder to yourself to focus? Because I cannot tell you how many times I need to be reminded to focus. I've even told my husband to remind it of me, even though he reminds me of it all the time. But you have to have some built-in ways to hold yourself to this idea of focusing and not letting yourself get distracted from the intention. Another good strategy is to write this intention to streamline down and to focus on this intention for this season. I have a one-pager for my business because I want to really stay focused on the things that are moving the needle. And so I have a one-page focus streamline page that is pinned to my Notion, and that describes what it is that I really want to have my eye on, what is it that I really want to double down on. And that way it's all written out there. So when I do get those notions of, hey, I want to switch things up, I can remind myself what I had decided, why I decided that, and how it feeds into really what I want for my life, that ease and energy to be a blessing, right? In those specific ways. And it keeps me dialed in to what's most important to me. I also recommend using the strategies of the book, The 12-Week Year, to keep yourself on track with grace and flexibility. But really having a system with your goals that you have for yourself in this season is going to help you stay on track, because parts of the tenets of the 12-week year is you're going to keep yourself on a weekly review. So you're pulling yourself back to look at those goals each week, each quarter even, and you have a way to kind of keep yourself consistently working towards those goals in a very strategic way. Another thing you could do is organize for actionability. So when it comes to staying focused, staying streamlined, you want to have an organization system that supports you to do that. So when you sit down to do the work, you can focus and do what you need to do to reach those goals. But also when you do have some great ideas, you don't lose them. So one of the great things I love about my Notion second brain system, I use the tenets of the second brain in my Notion, is that I have a project space for someday maybe projects. I have a space that I can archive things that I don't want to get rid of as well. But what I really love is a few things that help keep me on track. So when I'm working and I have a good idea that still fits the intention and something I need to do for this season, I can capture it in my task list. And then when I do my weekly review, it gets scheduled out where it needs to be, but it doesn't distract me in the moment from what I'm working on. And I also don't lose that idea or that task that I need to get done. So this helps you from not dropping the ball. It helps you reduce that mental load of caring so much. When you have a lot of ideas and a lot of passions, you always have, it's on my phone to capture it. It's also on my iPad. It's on my computer. So I always have that system in place. And then, like I said, I also have in my projects area of my second brain, a project for someday maybe projects. I look at this folder of projects every Friday when I plan my week. So if there is something that starts to fit the intention of this season, I can move it to active projects and we can, get to working on those tasks. But if it's not, it's something that I stay there. I don't lose the idea. I don't feel like I'm giving up on all my other passions, but it's done in a streamlined way that I can approach it from my highest self and really from a bird's eye view decide where does it fit best in my life and is this the appropriate season. If you are looking for an easy way to get started with the second brain, I do have that template as well, and I will link that below. If you're not into Notion and you just want to learn about how to organize for actionability, I do have a summary on the second brain if you want to put it into your own system as well, which I will link in the description as well. I also want you to think of this as a journey of becoming. Just like I said, we're not putting all our pressure on this moment to be our everything. We are constantly evolving and we're becoming, and I think you should frequently be reinventing yourself. So you should have it as a part of your self-reflection, discovery journey to always set aside some times. I like to do mine at least yearly, sometimes twice a year, where you sit down and you kind of look at all your values again. Are you still heading in the right direction of what serves you? Have maybe your passions changed? Has the season changed? How can you reinvent yourself or grow? What do you need to learn, right? Have those moments in your life. I love to sit down at the end of the year to do this. Sometimes, like I said, also in 6 months, I get my goal planner, my Mod Ambition goal planner, fill up that goal planning section, and then I think about my 12-week year goals to start, using this current season of life to help get me there. So really having some times that you really look at this as a journey of becoming and infusing your passions as they fit best for what you decide in your life. And then I also want you to use discernment. So I know in this age of information and education, I love to learn. learn. It's one of my values. It's one of my passions. So when I can get in a podcast on the treadmill or listen to a YouTube video while I'm doing the dishes or a motivational speech while I am, folding my kids' clothes or whatever, I'm going to do it because I love to learn. I like, getting all the information that can help make my life easier. But one of the things I've had to practice in this age of information is discernment. It's really stopping to think, does this apply to me? Just because I heard it doesn't mean that it was like a sign that I need to hear, right? Sometimes I'm just listening to a lot of stuff and it doesn't necessarily mean I need to go start a podcast right now, or I need to, start teaching at a university so I can, explore my neuropsychology. It doesn't mean that I have to do anything. I really have to decide how and if I want to apply what I'm learning, because sometimes when we learn, it can kick us into action mode without us even realizing it. We can get some good information and think, okay, especially if you have impulse problems, like a lot of multi-passionate people, I got to act on this information that I just learned right now. And I want to give you permission that you don't. You really don't. Write the notes down. This is what I like to do. I either add it to my resources if it's something that I'm not currently working on, a someday maybe project, or add it for if it is something I can use in the moment, organize it for actionability. So in the second brain system, just quickly, you have your projects, you have your areas, you have your resources, and you have your archive. Resource area is really something that you could share with anyone. It's just information you're learning, right? And what I like to do is if I have something that I think is really valuable, put it in a folder there where it applies, most applicable, or if it's something like that I can use in my template, like my script, my YouTube template script, something that's immediately actionable, I'll just put it where I'm going to actually use it when I sit down to work. So that way, if you're organizing for actionability, you have it when you do need it, but you don't necessarily have to act on it in the moment. So one of the things that you are probably dealing with if you have a lot of passions is this mental load that I'm describing. So if you want me to describe it in more detail, how to organize for actionability using your second brain, I'm going to tee up a video I did on that for you to watch next. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Cheers to planning, manifesting, and enjoying your dream life. Namaste. You woke me from a dream, now here's reality. Baby, you are really hurting me. 'Cause every